for what this moment requires of us. Because what happens in this room tonight has the power to shape what happens in our community tomorrow. I am Otis Young, and I humbly serve as one of the co-presidents of the Capital Area Justice Ministry, and we thank you for coming, and let us begin. All right, she's coming. She's coming. Y'all give her a hand as she comes, all right? All right, I see.
Tonight, we come together not as strangers, not as separate communities, and not as a people divided by background, neighborhoods, or tradition. Tonight, we come together as one people with one shared purpose. That purpose is to build a stronger, safer, more just community for those who cannot do so for themselves. The second temple in the holy city of Jerusalem was completed around 516 BC under the leadership of Zerubbabel, roughly 7 years before Nehemiah arrived. Nehemiah, which is Hebrew for Nehemiah, returned to the holy city around 45 BC. He was responsible for rebuilding the city walls and implementing religious reform. Picture this, standing in the heat before piles of rubble. Nehemiah knew something. He knew something that we all here know tonight. He knew that those walls which once stood could not have been built alone and would not be rebuilt by one person alone. He knew that they are rebuilt when neighbors stand shoulder to shoulder, and hearts are united, and when hands are willing to work for something greater than themselves. That same truth lives in this room tonight. Real change happens when people of faith, people of conscience, and people of courage rise together. We know that the challenges before us are real, but we also know that when communities unite, problems that once seemed impossible begin to move. We stand together. We become stronger than fear, stronger than division, and stronger than indifference. Tonight is about more than words. It's about commitment. It's about believing that justice matters, that every family matters, that every child matters, and that the future of our city matters. May this gathering be filled with wisdom, courage, and unity. May we leave here inspired not only to hope for change, but to become the change we seek. May the Creator bless each of you, and may the Creator bless our shaped work in Tallahassee.
All right. Good evening, CAJM family and friends. The purpose of tonight's Nehemiah interaction is to bring our community into direct conversations with those who seek to lead it. We are here to hear clearly where candidates stand on the issues impacting our community and to begin establishing accountability for the decisions that will shape our future. For this to be effective, we must operate with discipline. So I want to be clear in laying out the ground rules for tonight. First, this is a space of to have an equal opportunity to speak. Third, this is not a debate. Candidates will not respond to one another. They will respond only to the questions that are asked. Fourth, we ask the audience to remain engaged and attentive. This means staying focused, limiting our movement during panels, and helping us maintain a respectful environment. Fifth, we will move with urgency and discipline. Transitions between panels will be immediate. Please stay with us so the program stays on time. If we follow these guidelines, we will create a space that is clear, fair, and powerful. Thank you for your attention and your cooperation.
Good afternoon. I'm Reverend Sylvia Jones from Mount Zion AME Church in Havana, Florida. Amen. Tonight, we going to take a moment to recognize leadership and commitment. Because when progress happens in our community, it's important that we acknowledge it. This past year, we have seen positive movement around affordable rental housing. And as the result of persistence, partnership, community voice, emails, letters, and thank you. at, at the recommendation of staff, Leon County staff, our commissioners established an affordable housing gap financing incentive program to address the great need for affordable rental housing. On January 27th, our county commissioners approved the first award from the new Affordable Housing Gap Financing Incentive Program to the Volunteers of America, Florida. So tonight, we want to recognize our county commissioners for their role in that progress. It's been a long haul. However, when everybody jumped in and said, we're going to get something done, help came from just picking up the phone and asking, and they responded. Staff responded because we were determined that we were going to take care of the people of our community. So this recognition is not just about what has been done, it's about what is possible when leadership and community work together. So we thank you and we look forward to continuing the work together. As I call your name, will you please step up? Commissioner Carolyn Cummings. Yes. Commissioner David O'Keefe. Commissioner Brian Welch. Abigail Thomas. Staff. Assistant County Administrator Shington Lammy. Jelani Marks. Staff. Commissioner Nick Maddox. Commissioner Bill Proctor. Administrator Vincent Long. Attorney Chastity H. Osteen. Commissioner Rick Minor. Commissioner Christian Caban. I think that's it. Let's give him another round of applause. Thank you.
Thank you all again. I know we worked for over a year with the county on that project and are so thankful that we were able to say that they accomplished this and are looking forward to many other partnerships as we move forward together. Capillary Justice family, what you just witnessed is what happens when organized people stay committed, when we stay persistent in doing the work of justice in this community. This work does not happen by accident. It happens because people invest in it. Capillary Justice Ministry is powered by us, by people who believe in justice, the work. So tonight, I invite you to take the next step. Not just show up and persist, but to invest. To invest in organizing, invest in relationships, invest in the work that holds leaders accountable. Because when we invest together, we move together. And when we move together, things change. So I ask you, what role will you play in sustaining this movement? We are now transitioning into the candidate portion of tonight's interaction. Again, this is not a debate. This is not a campaign rally. This is a accountability space. Candidates will be grouped by the seat they are running for and asked a series of questions. Each candidate will have 45 to 60 seconds to respond, and we will be strict on time, not out of disrespect, but out of discipline. We ask candidates to respect the time, and we ask the audience to remain respectful and attentive. We are here to listen, to learn, and to hold leaders accountable. I'd like to start by offering a testimony from Jada Brown from the Capital City Democratic Women's Club on gun violence.
Good evening. Y'all can do better than that. Good evening. Thank you. Thank you. I know how hard it is to get people here and also to color coordinate. So thank y'all for that. I will be brief. As instructed, I was told not to give a Baptist message and to be short. So with that, I am Jada M. Brown, president of the Capital City Democratic Women's Club, NAACP member, and proud to be a Capital Area Justice Ministry member as well. In Nehemiah 4:14, it says, "Do not be afraid. Remember the Lord who is great and awesome, and fight for your families, your sons, and your daughters." Gun violence is not just a statistic. It is a spiritual and moral crisis. It is stealing our children. It is shaking our communities and, most importantly, testing our faith. But like Nehemiah, we are not powerless. We are builders, we are protectors, and we are called to stand in the gap, to rebuild what violence has broken, and to guard what God has entrusted to us. Faith without action is empty. Prayer must move our feet, love must shape our laws, and justice cannot afford to wait. So tonight, we stand together, not in fear, but in faith, not in silence, but in strength, because protecting life is not political, it is biblical. As a mother, every time I walk out of my house, I say a silent prayer. And the silent prayer is, God, bring my child back home safely. That should not be my reality or any of ours. Our children should not have to grow up learning how to survive violence before they get the chance to live out their purposes in life. I've worked in our communities. I've seen the impact, families grieving, young lives cut short, and communities left trying to pick up the pieces. And I've also seen the strength of our communities. People who refuse to give up. People who believe, like I do, that enough is surely enough. Because faith without action is empty. Prayer must move our feet. Love must shape our laws. And justice, again, cannot afford to wait. So tonight, this is our moment. Not just to speak, but to act. Not just to hope, but to demand change. Not just to pray, but to organize, to advocate, and to hold leaders accountable. So as we prepare to listen to candidates, keep an open heart, keep an open mind, and remember that this is Nehemiah action. Thank you.
Thank you, Jada, for that testimony. I'd like to invite our candidates for seat 3 to come forward to the panel. Norm Roche, Talithia Edwards, Max Hurley, PJ Perez, Daryl Alfred, and Tom Derzapolinski. I practiced the last one a lot. I didn't get Alfred right. I'm sorry.
Okay, I just gotta get the picture. Everybody take two.
Sure.
Check, check.
Hello? Oh, there we go. All right. Well, given our testimony was on gun violence, we'll start with that as our first issue. 5 years ago, at our first Nehemiah action, we asked for the city to commit for $1 million for a year for 5 years for gun violence interruption, and to hopefully come up with work that would not just prevent gun violence, but interrupt gun violence. And we would like to know if you would be willing to commit to $1 million a year for gun violence interruption for 5 years.
Yes.
Max?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Max Hurley. I'm running for Tallahassee City Commission C3. 13 years ago, I sat at a room at Jake Gaither, and I sat around as we planned the Gun Violence Intervention Task Force. And that group together found what this group had found, that when we have people who are from these neighborhoods, who have seen this kind of life, that they are the most effective advocates to our youth in order to make meaningful change to the plight of gun violence in our community. And 13 years ago, a group just like this came before the City Commission. And 13 years ago, the City Commission said, not yet. Why? It was too expensive. They said that $80,000 was too much of a commitment. But we know, this audience knows, that the cost of even one senseless killing of gun violence far exceeds $80,000. And 13 years ago, they said no. And I certainly hope that the future commission, of which I hope to be part with your help, that we will say yes, because I will stand with you and I will absolutely say yes to funding that. Thank you.
Thank you, Max. And we'll just go down the line. PJ?
Yes, I would definitely agree to that funding. And as a high school teacher, I'm all too familiar as well with the way that kids struggle with this every day. If you're not aware, at 2 p.m., that's when most high schools get out on average. Most of these kids are latchkey kids. They go home and they don't have a lot to do. And as we see, the Leon County schools are cutting funding for after-school programs, arts programs, and sports programs. The city needs to step in a meaningful way to create productive spaces for these individuals. Some get milk and cookies when they get home, but others find an empty house. We know that 91% of the homicides committed between 2015 and 2020 occurred in 5 zip codes. And again, this is a moral failing on the part of our government to just allow this to happen and are perpetuating this. 2 zip codes, 32304 and 32301, represent 57% of the homicides, only 27% of the population. So I not only pledge, I wish we can do more to encourage the relationships and foster community assistance, making sure that these individuals feel productive and they do what makes them feel meaning in life. Thank you.
Thank you, PJ. Thank you, PJ. Norm?
I'm just going to stand up so everybody knows who's talking. Yes, I would support that, but frankly, I would take it further. I think we need to remove the politicizing of the issue and take away from the weapon, gun violence, and focus on the word violence and the growing culture of violence, whether it's a gun or a knife or a car or an airplane or a baseball bat. And it's a culture of violence that's growing in our country that's promulgated by politicians, the media, social media platforms. We have to have uncomfortable conversations about this. Yes, Hollywood, and I'll say it, violent video games. We cannot sit here and rail against books that are in our students' libraries that are arguing against LGBTQ issues and thinking that's going to impact them, and then turn a blind eye to violent video games. And you put a young person in front of a television or a computer screen that are playing a game that rewards them for murder and rape and killing and ignore that. So I would like to see us not focus on the weapon so much as the culture. And that culture is violence, and I would commit to it. Yeah.
Thank you, Norm. Daryl?
Hey, good evening, everybody, and thanks for coming out. I'm Dar. My name is Daryl Alfred, but nice to meet you. Since we're friends now, I think that you can call me by the name I'd like. First of all, I would like to say yes, I would support this. But to build on that, I started my first community garden when I was 16 years old. And in that experience and many years in working with young people, I understand that it's not just about prevention through programs and talking with tools, but giving young people things that they can be proud about, where they build a sense of self-identity through contribution, through service with one another. And whenever we focus on programs that honor that will build community that extends far beyond uh, the parameters of what we're currently seeing. We need to make sure that our community feels like a community, and that means we need to make sure we're focused on programs that link and bond them. Yes, thanks.
Tom. I was going to ask is we can only get $1 million? I think it might be a little bit bigger problem than that sometimes, right? I saw our good sheriff here earlier and the undersheriff, and I think to be real clear, I would absolutely support funding this type of program. But I also think we got to bring the right players to the table. We need to support and back our law enforcement who are on the front lines, fighting every day to keep our streets safe. I think there are far too often we want to villainize the folks that have the most difficult job in our community. And so I would absolutely support funding programs that save lives, in particular when it comes to gun violence. And I'm proud to have served on a task force previously to ensure that more people in our community, the business community, nonprofits, law enforcement, and every quarter of the community come together as one voice here.
Thank you, Tom. I think that's a perfect segue to our next question, actually. Gun violence is not only a law enforcement issue, but intersects with mental health, housing instability, employment, and community trust. How will you ensure a coordinated cross-sector approach to reducing gun violence? You want to start, PJ?
So as we know, all of these problems are multifactorial, right? So if you have housing instability or food insecurity, you're going to be in a position where you have no dignity at the home. So these violent statistics aren't crime statistics so much as they are poverty statistics. They're housing insecurity statistics. They're food insecurity statistics, and they just manifest in criminal behavior. So the more that we attack the root cause of these things by working with all the nonprofit agencies doing good work like Carter's Corner or We're All We Need or CAJM for that matter, people that step up in the face of injustice and make sure that we have a community that's working together to fully optimize behind this issue. Again, as a school teacher, I see this every day with the students that I teach. I consciously build after school programs to ensure that there are kids that they at least have that space to go to. So as we continue to cut funding, we still need to have people to step up. So if it's not the schools, then it must be the city. And so anytime we can have a partnership that works in tandem, that's just going to work better, especially faith-based or civic-based communities that represent the community and have the trust to interrupt this violence. Thank you.
Max?
I wanted to say at the beginning that we are joined tonight by 6 of us, well, 5 of us. There's 7 people in this race, and I encourage anyone in the audience who's interested in running to join us up here on stage. We know that mental health is a very serious issue in our community. I was in this very room about a year ago, and we held a funeral for my friend, and we had lost him from mental health issues, and I know that it has affected everyone in this room in some way. And we have to do better as a community. And it starts by talking about these issues, and it ends with an agreement from the city, all of us, on what we want to do about it moving forward. I think that there is amazing work that has been done in our inner city with groups like Rural Kings Group. And I would encourage us to continue funding efforts like that.
Thank you, Max. Let's go to Tom.
Sure. So my past 25 years in Tallahassee have been about building teams to, attack critical issues, whether it's hunger or violence or working for the Red Cross or creating jobs through the Goodwill. And part of the platform I'll announce on my website in the next 2 weeks involve work that's already begun here. We brought Dr. Jay Reeve and several key leaders in our community together who are on the front lines of this. And so on day one, we show up prepared to take that funding that we could approve, and put it to work with the right people, the right collaboration with mental health professionals, law enforcement officers, our teachers. I have a great deal of respect for Mr. Perez being a school teacher. That's probably one of the highest callings that anybody could have. And I respect his insights on that. When I'm serving on the city commission, I want to know what he thinks about some of these issues so we can keep his kids safe too.
Thank you. Dar?
Hey guys, so firstly, I want to say while this is an issue that disproportionately affects people living in poverty, this is not an issue that stands and stays there. I'm a rideshare driver in this town, and more often than you would expect, I've had students in my back seat that are spending time at bars and clubs here in town that carry pistols. This is a cultural issue at this point. So we need to be doing everything that we can to protect people, like the issue that happened at Zingales. Before they enter these places, we should be making sure that they're safe. In addition to that, as far as preventing poverty in the casualties of poverty in our community, I think the city could do better as far as getting ahead of people that are at risk, using the data that we already have as it pertains to falling behind with utilities, taxes, and otherwise, and intervening before people get to the point that they're falling off. Because we send them notices, we know that they're behind, but we can get ahead of that.
Thank you. And Norm?
Thank you. Yep, we're on. I think, like everyone is talking about, it's a much bigger issue than just the weapon in their hands. It is the evil in the heart. And I think that is where we need to begin in bringing everyone together to work on that issue. We started that. Max, PJ, Talitha, and I, the other folks weren't in the race yet, but we started that by sending out a signed agreement that we were going to have a civil campaign, that we weren't going to sling mud at each other. We weren't going to get violent and angry and scream. We were going to talk about the issues. And that's what I talk about when I say get to the root of the cause of the violence, not just the weapon they're working on. And that's where I think our focus needs to be. I had the good fortune and honor of serving as a county commissioner. I was also the chair of the Juvenile Welfare Board. We worked together. We brought the city, the judges, the law enforcement, everyone together to get the project, or the, as you were talking about, the programs and people together on it. So I think it's a daunting task. I wish I had the miracle answer. I do not, but we have to keep working at it to get it done right. Thank you.
Thank you, Norm. And we'll also move to now affordable housing, building off of what Reverend Sylvia mentioned and the hard work of the county over the last year. Recent commitments by the county commission and a blueprint board will have already begun to make a dent in the deficit of rental housing that families with very low and extremely low incomes can afford. However, the city commission, we have not been able to get them to partner with us on that need, and the need is tremendous. With over 16,000 of these families spending more than half their income on rent and utilities. How will you build on this progress to address the full scope of the need? We'll start with you now, Norm.
Thank you. Thank you. At one of our last forums, Commissioner O'Keefe brought this up, how the county has a land bank. We've heard many things talking about reimagining this and reimagining that, and I think we need to reimagine how we address things like affordable housing and homelessness. The county has land banks set aside, and I think the city needs to get on board, and we talked about that night on committing and being aggressive about it. The city itself, it's not always just tax dollars that do it, but we have a lot of city assets, properties, empty buildings that are underutilized, buildings and property that isn't utilized at all. And we should be working together, I hope. And I can bring to the table my experience as a county commissioner. I understand their role. I worked with the city for 6 years. I understand the city's role. And I hope, and it is my goal, to bring to the table a strong attempt to mend and grow stronger the relationship between the city and county so we can get on about the business of addressing our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Norm. PJ?
Well, yeah, I just want to start by saying that it's a real moral failure that the city has not allocated the same amount of money towards that gap financing that the county went ahead and did. So that great work that you did to bring it to their attention needs to just happen in the city as well. So we have community land trusts. We should be making sure that there's an education component to that where people know what services are available. We need to be doing more missing middle homes in the interior and the urban core. What we're doing now is subsidizing urban sprawl. This hemorrhages our municipal budget and makes it really difficult for us in the future to have the property tax revenue to spend on programs like affordable housing and creating this gap financing that could treat not just the 80% AMI, but the 30 and 50% AMI families that need to be the target of a lot of these programs. These are the Alice families that are working hard every day. They're not unemployed, they're working, but they're a step away from being homeless. And then all of a sudden, now we're dealing with two separate issues. We need to address the lack of home ownership and the access to affordable housing because it is the root cause of all of our issues.
Thank you, PJ. Max?
Most people don't know that the first Christmas in North America was held in Tallahassee. I believe that there is something special about this place. Most people don't know that the only crucifixion in North America happened in the canopy of Tallahassee. I believe that if you are not in Tallahassee, you are not supposed to be. What does that mean for us? It means that we are called to protect the people in our community. It means that we are called to care for each other. And I believe it starts with a home over our head. And that's why, as being appointed to the Leon County Charter Review Committee by Leon County Commissioner Bill Proctor, I was proud to stand with CAJM in advocating for a priority on affordable housing, putting it on the ballot this election cycle, and I hope that we can still get that done with CAJM's help. Thank you.
Thank you, Max. Tom?
Sure. So like you're hearing, a reoccurring theme tonight is there's not a single solution. I do think that the city should come quickly in line with the county and enact similar funding and policies. That doesn't have to be something that's delayed. I think that's something we could get to work right away on. However, that provides a gap fill, right? What do we do about true affordable housing that we don't need government subsidized funding and programs for? The origins of a lot of the regulations that prevent growth and development are rooted in racism. If you look back to California, mid-century, people wanted to drive out other types of people. So they started to create policies around density and lot size. I think we've got to take a fresh look in here at Tallahassee at what we've done to drive down inventory of homes, which is increasing the price of homes. And we cannot pave our canopy. Don't hear me say that. We have to grow smart.
Thank you, Tom. Dar?
So I got my real estate license at the end of 2021 because I wanted to help the financially insecure people in our community build equity and stake in it. I hear the word housing affordability or affordable housing thrown around so often, but I grew up in public housing in Tallahassee, and I can tell you that what we need to be focused on is increasing ownership. We need to make sure that people have equity and stake in their neighborhoods and feel like permanent residents in Tallahassee, not temporary ones. This goes into issues of mental health and so many other intersectional issues, but I think that starting there would change everything about our city. So while I do support everything around creating intergenerational housing to prevent the homelessness that will be related to the highest surge of elderly residents in the history of the world as Gen Xers and baby boomers retire the next few years, I also want to see young people and families able to purchase homes in Tallahassee. So that's why I've already submitted a program to do just that.
Thank you, Dora. The next question in this section. In recent years, there have been over 1,000 school children in our public schools who are homeless, even though most of their parents are working. What, if anything, would you be willing to do to provide leadership in addressing this issue? We'll start with you, Tom.
Well, I'm proud of the work through nonprofits that I've done to serve the community and to look at some of these issues very, very deeply. Back to the original comment that again is the theme. What are the root cause of these issues? Where are we finding the main challenges in our households? What is going on with our family units? Both mom and dad are off working. Kids are coming home to empty houses. you are one paycheck away from being evicted, and now you are surfing on couches. My work with the CCYS has exposed me to some other injustices. Young adults in the LGBTQ plus community who are kicked out of home by their parents for the way that they are. And so we've got to take a look at this in a bigger way. It's not just about, this grand number of homeless kids. It's what's going on back in the family that those parents can't make a wage to put a roof over their head.
Thank you, Tom. Max?
Did we get a head count in the room for tonight? There are more homeless kids in Leon County than people in this room. And I suspect that if we saw a room of homeless kids in Leon County, that we would all be drawn to do something about it. And yet, the problem persists. It persists because it's not visible, it's hidden. People live with shame. People don't seek out these resources. And we know that we have to do better. I don't have all the answers, y'all, but I'm here tonight to listen. I know that there are a lot of compassionate hearts and believers in this room, and I hope to learn from you all about what you all want to do to protect the youth in this community and the homeless kids in our community.
Thanks, Max. PJ?
Yeah, I mean, as a teacher, and I've spoken about this before, we know to carry food in our drawers because of the very thing that you're describing. I'm proud that the school I work at currently provides free lunches to everybody. And in fact, kids take home lunches if there's extra. We, oftentimes have a surplus, and that food goes home with those children. So because I'm friends with a few farmers, I have some insight into food insecurity. So right now we're in the middle of building a municipal grocery store in Griffin Heights neighborhood. About 8-minute walk away is Riley Park, right across the street from Riley Elementary. So right now, if you're a farmer and you want to represent yourself in the Tallahassee downtown market, you have to pay a good amount. And if you can't make that money back as a farmer, well, that makes it unrealistic for you to do business there. So we need to work on making those spaces incentivizable for people to not just patronize, not just for the farmers, but also for the patrons of those markets. So there's something called fresh access bucks. For every dollar you spend in SNAP benefits, you get a dollar matching in that. So not a lot of people are aware of that program. We make sure that that program is available for everybody, especially near municipal grocery stores. Thank you so much.
Thank you, PJ. Norm?
Thank you. We see a common thread on this. This is not a new issue. This is something that not only Tallahassee and Leon County, but the state of Florida, the entire nation has grappled with, the homeless issue, and that can be drawn back to the deinstitutionalizing of our system. There are things that we need to do. We've thrown millions, if not billions of dollars at it, and we're still having that problem. So whatever we are doing is not working. I talk about thinking outside the box. I'm more than that. Take the box, break it down, stick it in a recycling bin, and open it up to any and all ideas on how we can address that issue. I think the first thing we need to do is to take an accounting of what we're spending now. What are we doing now? What programs are working? What programs are not working? And then reallocate them funds to from the ones that aren't working to the ones that are working. And then we need to delineate the root causes of homeless. Not everybody are just bums who don't want to work. There are drug addicts, there are alcohol addicts, there are people who come across bad times. And we need to establish programs that address those specific issues to help them get back on their feet.
Thank you, Norm. And finally, Dar.
I do apologize, but could you repeat the question?
Yes. In recent years, there have been over 1,000 school children in our public schools who are homeless, even though most of their parents are working. What, if anything, would you be willing to do to provide leadership in addressing this issue?
So as PJ mentioned, I worked with the Frenchtown Farmers Market and did grow food for years. I'm also networked with many different local farmers. We have resources like the Fresh Access Bucks program, as well as the Red Hills Online Market. But I was talking to Bill Montfort actually today about the fact that we throw away so much food just in the schools. Kids could be taking food with them when they leave. At the end of the day, there's so much waste that goes to our landfill, not just in our school system, but I've also worked in places like Whole Foods, Lucky's, where I've seen literal tons of food slide down that chute. We need to do more as far as mobilizing efforts from Second Harvest, Feed Florida, which actually will pay for the overgrown produce that farmers can't sell, and get that to the community so they can get fed. I want to see us bolstering programs like Food Not Bombs to make sure food is mobile and getting to who needs it.
Thank you, Dar. We're going to stay with you since you are on the topic. We're going to switch over to food insecurity. Many neighborhoods in our city are classified as food deserts, lacking access to affordable and nutritious food. What concrete actions will you take to attract and sustain grocery stores in these areas?
Sustain grocery stores?
Yes.
Um, I don't know about sustaining grocery stores, but I've always advocated for us to take sovereignty in the production of our food. Whenever I started my community garden, that was the idea, is we need to not centralize our food in somewhere outside of our community in the Sunshine State, where under that sunshine, we can grow every kind of food that we need. We need to create a strong, sustainable food network in every community where we can fill the gaps and have third spaces where intergenerational wisdom can be passed. The wealth that grows in a garden goes beyond the food that we fill in our bellies. And so I think that we need to create spaces where people can exist together, where all of this has been taken away from us in just the past 50 years.
Thank you, Tom.
You know, we can give airlines tens of millions of dollars to hope they get a flight in and out of here, right? To make it easy for a few of us who can fly out of Tallahassee. But we can't subsidize a grocery store. We have the poorest zip code in the state of Florida, and I want to make a commitment that I'm going to work along whoever else is serving on the city commission to put that to bed finally. We cannot be the home of the poorest folks in our state. And that starts with food security in many ways and affordable housing. I've got 3 meetings set up over the next month with the head of 3 top grocers, and I'm going to ask them to rise to the challenge and to step in and come along. In my life, what I've done is bring people together to work on solutions. I'm a businessman. So I reached out to the business community, the heads of Publix, the heads of Winn-Dixie, Aldi, and said, I'd like a meeting to talk about my community. We're going to come back here and talk to nonprofits. Hopefully I'll be serving on the city commission where we could do some work there, and we can come together and put this to bed finally. Not a Band-Aid, not a safety net, a solution.
Thank you, Max.
1902 was one of the most important years for our community. And it's because in 1902, one of these businesses that we've just heard so many great things about, a corporation used to be serving this community, and they left because the money dried up, and the business was the electrification industry. That's the company that used to provide the street lights and the power in this city. It used to be a private company. Thank God it's not today. But in 1902, that business was about to leave, and the city fathers and mothers came together and they said, not on our watch. We're going to build public enterprise, and that's the backbone of our city. It's the backbone of our budget. It's the backbone of the quality of services that we provide. Why am I telling you this? Because just like we did in 1902, I believe that this city and the leaders of it possess in ourselves the ability to do great things with public enterprise, and that includes providing grocery and food to the people of this city.
Thanks, Max. PJ?
Again, as a teacher, I got to go back to education. It's a lot to do with education. And so if someone doesn't know about the free access bucks program, then they don't know to take advantage of it. They don't know about how to apply for SNAP benefits, and then they can't take advantage of it. So as I mentioned, the Griffin Heights municipal grocery store that's being built there in Griffin Heights. We need to make fresh food available to people, but you can't just make it available. You also need to make recipes available for those individuals to understand that these are working families that don't have a lot of time to be able to prepare large meals with all this fresh produce. You got to make it easy. So that takes a community getting together and educating all of us, understanding that this issue isn't just one zip code or another zip code. This is a city. We are all neighbors. This is what compels us to be in this room. This is what compels us to come to service, is that we all need to serve and help one another out. It's a moral failing that we have the poorest zip code in the state of Florida. We need to take that into consideration, make sure we empower people to do better. So when we have on the southwest side of town agrivoltaic farms that are looking to help not only provide fresh food, but also help subsidize the grid, those are the kind of smart ideas that we need to be forwarding and pushing ahead. Thank you.
Thank you. Norm?
Thank you. I'm standing up again. No, I don't sit still very well. I work for a living, so I get moving. There are a lot of good ideas. You know, I've been watching as long as I've been living here. The garden out on Orange, and it started and it was nice and it was exciting, and then it went dormant for a while. And the city did get involved a little bit. Now it's reviving, and I think we need to again back to the assets that we have as a city, which and the county, which is land, and being able to foster that environment and do more of that. But I think it's not always about providing taxpayer food or taxpayer this or that. What we are tasked with doing is providing opportunity as well. Opportunity to the folks that are young here that can stay here and build their families here, careers and jobs here, so that quite frankly, they can buy whatever house they damn well please and they can buy whatever food they please. But that is part of our challenge as well. So we have to open up our minds and begin to grow and provide the opportunity for that growth so that those grocery stores come back. Thank you.
Thank you, Norm. And this is going to be our last question. It's going to kind of be a speed question. We weren't able to get through everything. There's 5 of you up there, so we try to get through everything we can. So I'm going to set the clock at 30 seconds. And so you're going to have to try to get it in if you can. The question is on immigration, light topic to end on. What is your vision for how Tallahassee can remain a welcoming and economically strong community in the context of changing immigration policies? Start with you, Dar.
As far as a 287G agreement, it's a total disagreement for me. Our community and America in general is supposed to be a rainbow of different people's diverse backgrounds convening in one space to create a future that is free to express yourself however you are. Whenever it comes to 287G, I don't think that anyone from any brown community should be afraid to walk outside of their door. Yep, 30 seconds. People need to get out there. They shouldn't be afraid and inside no matter what color you are.
Amen. Thank you, Dar. Tom.
Sure. I think we are given a false choice that you either have justice or compassion. This is not true. Lack of justice brings about incompassionate situations, all right? Unsafe situations. So I'm for the rule of law. We have those for a reason, but they have to be coupled with compassion and realize that we are talking about human beings, not aliens. And we shouldn't run people out of our communities. You know, we kicked the doors wide open in this community and welcomed everybody. And then all of a sudden, overnight, we're going to be ripping people off of job sites and out of their homes. That's not okay with me.
Thank you, Tom. Max?
As you drive home this evening, you will pass dozens and dozens of cameras. And as you pass those cameras, they will scan your license plate and they'll also scan your bumper stickers. They'll notice when you have racks on the top of your car. They'll notice if you have a bag over one of your windows. They're doing this to track who you are, and they're giving this information to ICE. I believe in terminating the 287G agreement and keeping our data private.
Thank you, Max. PJ?
Yeah, this is an animating issue for the people in this room, for all of us in our community. This is the moral issue of the moment. We all saw what happened in Minnesota, and now because of the undercover signing of the 287G agreement by our city manager and our chief of police, we are now subject to a lot of the same things that are being perpetrated across our country. This is unacceptable, and it does not create a welcoming environment. I'm the parent of immigrants, or I'm the son of immigrants, excuse me, and we need to we need to exit the 287G agreement immediately and test the state of Florida's resolve in this uncompassionate legal move. Thank you.
Thank you, PJ. Norm?
I can barely give you my address in 30 seconds, but I'm going to try. It's difficult. I think there's a couple important things we need to note. The City of Tallahassee Commission and the mayor has no control over federal immigration policy. The issue of the agreement has already gone before the City Commission and has been voted on. But I have many friends and family members who are legal immigrants, and they came through it. I agree with you. We have to have laws. I agree with that. The very reason that we do not have the chaos that occurred in Minneapolis and the tragic death of Miss Good and Mr. Preddy is precisely because we have an agreement and our law enforcement is cooperating with it. There's a right way and a wrong way, and I'm in favor of any good policy that can make it the best way. Thank you.
Thank you, Norm, and thank you all. Before you go back to your seats, I want to read something briefly from Timothy Edwards, who's also a candidate. She's unable to be here and sends her sincere apologies, but wanted to address 3 things. She wanted to make sure she share with everyone her thoughts on expanding local housing trust funds and flexible gap financing. We must invest in dedicated recurring funding streams that allow for rapid deployment of resources to create and preserve affordable units particularly for extremely low-income families, leverage public land for community center development, the strategic use of publicly owned land for affordable housing, paired with community land trusts, can ensure long-term affordability and protect against displacement. And third, braid formal and informal systems of support. True progress will require aligning government policy, nonprofit capacity, faith-based leadership, and grassroots organizing. The Capital Area Justice Ministry is uniquely positioned to help bridge these systems, bringing together lived experience, moral clarity, and policy advocacy to move solutions forward. I want to say thank you again to the 5 of you for coming tonight. Let's give them a round of applause.
Thanks for having us.
I'd like to invite Lena Cole forward to give a testimony on mental health.
Good evening, everyone. I am Elena Cole. I appreciate the invitation to be here tonight, giving me a voice to speak about what's going on in the community, but I am not happy about what I have to speak about. Mental health became very real for me in a way I never expected. Recently, I lost someone very close to me to suicide, and the truth is, it has changed me. It has affected me in ways I can't explain, emotionally and spiritually. I feel like I'm in a place that has torn me away. There are moments where the sadness just sits heavy on me and numb. And in other times when I don't even know, I don't know what I'm feeling. Spiritually, it has shaken me. I found myself asking questions, searching for peace, and trying to understand something that feels impossible to understand. My days don't feel the same anymore. Things that used to feel normal don't feel the same. There's a weight I carry now, a quiet heaviness that follows me, even in moments that are supposed to be light. This experience has shown me how powerful mental health really is. It's not something we can ignore or push aside. It affects me, how I think, how I feel, and how I live. And sometimes it affects whether someone feels like they can keep going. What I've learned in this is we never truly know what someone else is going through. And because of that, kindness matters, forgiveness matters, and checking in matters. Being an ear to listen, really listening matters. I'm still healing, I'm still processing, and some days are harder than others. But if sharing my experience can help even one person feel seen, encouraged, or that someone can reach out to help, then it's worth it. Mental health is real and it matters for us all. Supporting mental health is not about having all the right answers. It's about being present, consistent, and intentional in how you show up for others. And here are some ways. Start with listening, learn the signs, encourage professional help, be mindful of your words, offer practical support, take care of your own mental health. Know when it's urgent. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Lena, and thank you for giving us practical ways that I think all of us can put into action as we leave here tonight. We'd like to invite the candidates for seat 5 to come forward. Diane Williams-Cox, Bernard Stevens, Tiffany Hill, and Joseph Kalicki.
Thank you for joining us, candidates. We're going to start off in the section about mental health. Access to mental health services often depends on insurance, transportation, and availability. How will you work to reduce barriers so that all residents, regardless of income, can receive care? We'll start with you, Joseph.
We were getting our mics situated. I'm
Yeah.
so
I'm
sorry.
sorry.
Yeah.
Access to mental health services often depends on insurance, transportation, and availability. How will you work to reduce barriers so that all residents, regardless of income, can receive care?
Well, I do know that with our transit system here in Tallahassee and Star Metro, I think the folks on the authority are trying to do the best job they possibly can. But I have heard from residents that there are not optimal routes in many locations to critical services, including, good locations for grocery stores, good drop-offs for things that people need every single day. So I would like to see some better route optimization for access to mental health services. I think that cost should be as subsidized as absolutely possible, as much as possible here in Tallahassee. I think one way that we need to do that, though, is we need to increase ridership by changing the stigma associated with riding the bus in Tallahassee. There are lots of folks that will travel to other cities and happily use public transit and then come back to Tallahassee and not use it. So we should open that up to increase revenue.
Thank you. Bernard?
Good afternoon. My name is Bernard Stevens. I'm proud to be here. It's good to see all these smiling faces tonight. The best way to answer this question is what I do with mental health. That's basically how we treat each other, my brothers and sisters. Each day we go out, we look at somebody and we may put a frown on our face. We don't know what that individual may be going through. We are all residents of one community, one band, one sound. We work together. In order for us to have unity, we got to take the hate out of our hearts. We have to show love. We have to show kindness. We have to show compassion. We have to show empathy. We have to show sympathy. That's our duty every day as a human. And to fix the crisis, we can call a medical professional all day long, but even the medical professional itself is also a patient. We're patients of each other. We have to demonstrate that.
Thank you. Tiffany?
Yeah, so for me, to kind of battle mental health disparities here, I believe that we need to look at the organizations that we have in Tallahassee right now and how can we expand that. We need to get out into the public and speak to the people in the communities to see where we are falling short so that we can either create some type of outreach program, because I know working for the VA, I am a retired VA employee, and my job was being an outreach program specialist for veterans. So we would go out in the woods and look for, veterans. And so that's what we need to do, build a strong outreach team to go out and look for, citizens that are out in our city and need assistance. Thank you.
Thank you, Tiffany. Going to affordable housing. As we have already heard from our first panel, as I mentioned, recent commitments by the County Commission and Blueprint Board have been made, but efforts with the City Commission have been rejected. And so we would like for there to be the same commitment that the county and Blueprint have made to support those with very low and extremely low incomes for housing. But the needs, again, are tremendous. There are 16,000 families spending more than half their income on rent and utilities. How will you build on this progress to address the full scope of the need? Tiffany.
Yes, thank you for that question. So, affordable housing and tenant protections is one of my priorities. And so I know a lot of people, look at affordable housing. Everyone wants to throw that word around, but what is affordable housing? According to HUD, it's 30% of a person's income. But how do we fix that? How do we make that happen? So
most people look at public housing, which is the lower of the low income. Most people look at that as like, oh, that's not good. We need to get rid of public housing. But what public housing does for someone like me who has an elderly father who's disabled, it allows us as a family to keep our disabled and elderly loved one at home without looking at our income. So really look into HUD policies on what affordable housing really is.
Thank you, Tiffany. Bernard?
In order to fix our affordable housing problem, my brothers and sisters, the first thing we're going to have to do is consolidate our government. Oftentimes, you have seen within the government that the city and the county is always butting heads. I pledge to bring a bridge over that troubled water. Oftentimes, we get in front of a bunch of colleagues and we will sit around and we'll give a solution, but sometimes that solution hinders and stagnates the growth of the people. I honestly believe that the affordable housing solution is to give individuals an opportunity to transition into home ownership. The program itself with HUD needs to change. Obviously, it has been a system that has built it, but also torn down. Individuals that are suffering from poverty, less food, doesn't have a two-parent household. My brothers and sisters, it's our duties every day to make sure we do our part to help each other within our affordable housing crisis. It takes a village to raise a child. And we, my brothers and sisters, we are the residents. And we have to come to a conclusive understanding that it's important for us to show what can be done.
Thank you, Bernard. Joseph?
Fundamentally, there are two directions that we have to work on with affordable housing. How much money people actually make and how many houses or apartments we have availability that will affect the price of that housing. So one very actionable thing that I would like to see done is changes to our city code that would allow for the building of duplexes, triplexes, and quadruplexes within our neighborhoods in order to do gradual increases in density so we don't have to destroy the character of our neighborhoods while making more supply available that will bring prices down. We also have to very aggressively look at the long-term health of our economy as real wages have not grown here in our city. So if we don't bring better jobs and people don't make more money, you're going to be very slowly attacking that core problem.
Thank you. Excuse me. What role should the city play in supporting renters facing eviction, and how will you strengthen protections or resources for them? Let's start with Bernard.
All right. Well, ensuring protection will make sure that we have a hotline that you can be able to call the city and we'll be able to find out the solution. I really think that it's more so of educating our community on how to better be a steward over our funds. Oftentimes our bills, they are triple. Why? Because we are getting credit cards in the mail. We use credit as a system to continue to run our country into trillions and trillions of dollars of debt. We, my brothers and sisters, have to come to a conclusive understanding on how to manage our finances together. I believe that sometimes we will take the financial things when we go to a budget meeting and say, well, we need $1 million. We need $2 million. Where do you all think this money is coming from? It's coming from us. When we get a rise of taxes, when we're sitting around here rising the utility rates, the millage rates, that affects all of us. When our country goes to war, who does that? Our president. And we pay for it at the pump. My brothers and sisters, this is going to be a solution that's going to take all of us to be able to work together.
Thank you. Joseph?
So I've spoken about this at a couple different forums, but I feel very strongly that we need a centralized web portal of some kind, a renter registry, where individuals that are renting are able to log in. There's record of the lease between them and their landlord, and that portal should have an all-in-one function to educate them on their rights and also when something goes wrong or is going wrong, where they should go to get that help. The help does exist within our city government currently, but people do not know how to access it, and so we could solve that problem.
Thank you. Tiffany?
Thank you so much. Can you repeat the question for me one more time? Thank you.
Yes, no problem. What role should the city play in supporting renters facing eviction, and how will you strengthen protections or resources for them?
So for me, thank you for that question. I believe that it should be a system set up where people can log on to find assistance resources. They do have 211 Big Ben. that, they can call to find resources for money to help assist with rental assistance. So they do have that. Also, it needs to be programs, programs, educational programs, and teaching people on how to budget. That is a big thing, how to manage your budget and just really looking, providing people with more resources and creating more affordable, opportunities for people to um, make a livable wage, basically.
Thank you, Tiffany.
You're welcome.
All right. Moving to gun violence. Current efforts focus on youth prevention, yet the highest risk group is young adults, that 18 to the 30 group. How will you ensure resources are appropriately allocated to address both prevention and immediate intervention? Joseph.
So fundamentally, I think we all know that one of the reasons why folks do fall prey to violence and getting involved in crowds that they probably shouldn't is lack of opportunity. When people don't have opportunity or they don't feel like they have a purpose, they're going to end up getting involved in things that they ultimately should not. So where I would love to see more resources going, if we're talking about young adults, even folks that are just coming out of high school, um, they need to be doing something, doing some public good, if that's work programs to try to drive kids into employment and give them something that they can feel proud of doing. If that's expanding access to clubs and social groups to, get them involved in music or more involved in the faith community, whatever it may be, we need to get people active, involved, and give them a purpose.
Thank you, Joseph. Bernard?
All right. Well, when it comes down to gun violence, and that's coming from our young individuals, so statistics have shown, I honestly believe that the true problem lies in what can we do to stop the problem. Well, every day we get up and we turn on our TV, we're often seeing violence. We're often seeing individuals who are yelling, who are going back and forth, and this is the standard. This is the norm. This is the democracy that we're living in. We have free speech, true enough. But in order to fix the gun violence problem, we have to be able to, again, it's drawn back to love and kindness. The only thing that I can tell you that I promise to do is to be a diverse individual, to be a brain, to be able to think for myself, not side for anybody else. What I can honestly tell you, I come from a family where I was raised in poverty. I stayed in Basin Street. I stayed in Magnolia Terrace. My mom raised 5 kids by herself. She did the best that she could. I thought I deserved a better life, but my mom did what she could with 5 kids. And I must admit, at this point in time, when I'm looking at what we're facing today, is no difference from what I was facing as a kid. I believe that I'm the most qualified individual to fight for what we are not seeing from our community.
Thank you, Bernard. And Tiffany.
Thank you. So, as a war veteran, I know what guns can do. But I think that a lot of these young kids don't know what guns can do. And I think that we need to do more of the ride-alongs so that kids can get educated on what gun violence really looks like. We need to have more educational programs. I think that more police officers need to be invited into the schools to teach about gun violence. I think that in the homes, we need to push parents to talk about it and to also be able to provide, a safe haven at home so that, we need to make sure that these weapons are locked up. We need to make sure that people who are carrying, that they are safe, that they are providing um, gun safety, while they're carrying. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Tiffany.
Thank you.
Next question. What specific actions will you take within your first year in office to reduce gun violence, and how will you measure success? We'll start with Joseph.
I think ultimately the biggest lever here is going to be jobs. And I feel extremely strongly that if folks who are 18 to 25, again, don't have good jobs that are going to set them on a career trajectory and be able to ensure that they are going to be independent, successful, and happy people, we're going to see folks fall victim to getting involved in situations that are going to cause gun violence. So for me, the thing that I would actually be measuring is that a genuine job growth within the first year by bringing attracting companies here that are going to serve people across the educational spectrum and improve their outcomes.
Thank you. Bernard,
Can we repeat the question, please?
what specific actions will you take within your first year in office to reduce gun violence, and how will you measure success?
Well, I can honestly say my first year in office started when I went and signed up to be a candidate. I honestly believe that, as an individual 37 years old who have transitioned themselves from the criminal justice division, shall I say, I had to enjoy my pleasure of being incarcerated in the Department of Corrections. What did it teach me? That telling the truth was going to hurt me, but yet instead it helped me. I realized that what I've learned within gun violence is we use a gun every day because the good book says life and death lies in the power of the tongue. And oftentimes individuals will give you exactly what you want to hear, and they cannot fall through with the promises that they made. I will not make a promise that I cannot keep. I desire to change my life. Each day I live, I strive to be the very best person that I can possibly be. And though I may not be perfect, I do have a plan to be fair, kind, and courteous and respect my fellow man. That's my plan. That's what I would do in office. That's what I want to do every day. I want to see the change in the world that I want to see in myself. But it starts with me.
Thank you. Tiffany?
Thank you. So what I want to do within that first year is actually get to know the people in every corner of this city. So I want to be able to go out and have an audience like this to tell me, what can I do to help you to fight the gun violence that may be in your community? So I want to be able to hear from you all because you all really know what happens in your community. I want to be able to rally and push for anti-guns, for teenagers. Like they should not have them. We want to provide even more lessons or education about keeping your weapons safe so that we can keep our community safe. Because if you're in a car and you have your weapon in there and you leave out and you don't lock your car up, your gun don't have a lock on it, guess what? Some kid is gonna come and take it.
Thank you, Tiffany.
You're welcome.
We have gonna have two more questions here. The first will be about food insecurity. What incentives or policy changes would you support to encourage businesses to invest in underserved communities while ensuring affordability for residents? Tiffany, we'll start with you.
Okay, so can you
Yeah,
repeat that again? Thank you.
Kind of going back to with the first panel about food, we have food deserts. So
Right.
what incentives or policy changes would you support to encourage businesses to invest in underserved communities while ensuring affordability for residents?
Well, I believe it starts with, the grocery store that they're doing in Griffin Heights. I think that is actually a really good idea to have a community grocery store and being able to have that input from the community on what is to go in there. In some cases, I feel like um, just from some experiences that I've, not only heard but seen, that there are some organizations, you know, that may need a little oversight to ensure that, what they're doing is exactly what they say they're going to do. So we want to make sure, like, if we can develop a department to kind of oversee, those food insecurities and kind of help manage that, I think it would be a great idea for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Tiffany.
Mhm.
Bernard.
My brothers and sisters, the food insecurity that we face today, again, there's nothing that I would do differently besides make sure we're holding individuals accountable. When I say accountable, it is a job as a commissioner, even as a resident, to make sure that the programs are running seamlessly. Sometimes we have the individuals that are in positions that are in management and they're doing the best that they can with what they have. They don't have enough volunteers, or they don't have enough individuals to go out there. We have the programs and the resources. The only issue that we're facing right now as a community is the follow-up. We're not following up. I pledge that at the end of the day, whatever it is that I may land in life, that I continue to give individuals trust, kindness, to be able to show them what respect really looks like. Even when they tried to beat you down and told you you couldn't be nothing. What we have to understand when it comes down to food, there's a lot of waste. There's a lot of waste because we have not learned, and some have not learned to be able to portion their rations accordingly. We're living in a democracy now where we don't have an understanding of what goes on besides what the media reports.
Thank you, Bernard. And Joseph.
I think a couple gaps that the city government could fill. A couple things come to mind. So we all know the great work that Second Harvest does, but we also know that Second Harvest will partner with drop-off points in the community. Wealthier folks in town will get crop shares dropped off at their door, and they get fresh fruits and vegetables, and that's very convenient for folks that can afford to do that. But there's no reason why we can't partner with Second Harvest, partner with the incredible ag resources that we have here in North Florida to spend, I don't know, $150,000 and pay some folks to drive around Tallahassee and drop off fresh food to food insecure people. And along with that, you could provide that education and recipes and materials other folks alluded to earlier to ensure that they know what to do with that food.
Thank you. We have one more question we're going to ask. It'll be on immigration. How will you work to build trust between immigrant communities and local government, particularly in times of heightened fear or uncertainty? We'll start with Tiffany.
Well, honestly, what I would
I'm sorry.
Oh,
We'll start with Tiffany.
I thought I heard me. My bad.
That's
Go ahead.
okay.
I'm sorry.
My twin. So, with that, I mean, we need to get rid of the 287G. I mean, really, it is a bunch of nonsense. The police officers or, the sheriff department, I mean, they just need to do their jobs, So, and we need to make sure that they're doing their jobs and that no one is getting killed in the process of people doing their jobs. But 287G it really needs to go away. It is no need for that here in Tallahassee at all. Period.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Bernard.
Hope it's my turn now. Well, my brothers and sisters, to be able to tell you the honest truth, what we're looking at right now is there are three branches of government: the federal, the state, and the local. What we're seeing is on the federal level, which is the top. Our elected officials, the reason why we're here today is to make sure that we pick the right people, individuals who have balanced minds, individual who does not mind going out, sitting in your living room and talking to you for an hour, hearing your concerns. That's what a public servant is all about. Some individuals don't understand exactly what public service really means. It starts within yourself. And I honestly think when we look at the 287G agreement, individuals have to understand again that the mandate was if local leaders do not follow that, you will be removed from office. So removing yourself from office, getting tied up in the Supreme Court, that's a lot. Would I challenge it and say whether I support it or not? I think every day, again, it starts with our federal government and our state representatives. That's how we start. And I'll fight for you. I go right over there to the state every time they have legislative session and voice my concerns for my community. That's what I do.
Thank you. Joseph.
So as an elected city commissioner, the first thing that I would want to do is make sure that any immigrant who's living in Tallahassee knows that I respect and represent them. And that really ultimately means standing up to the folks that are in our city government who got us involved in the 287G, because again, our county and our sheriff's department did not have a choice. our city government, our police department did have a choice. And the voting majority, who is currently on the city commission, has not held those individuals accountable for getting us involved more deeply in this mess. So I would want them to know very loudly and very clearly that I stand with them and support them, so they know that the elected officials here are not going to shy away from criticism from the state government or others, and they can feel safe in that representation. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, all three of you, for coming tonight and serving on this
Thank
panel. Let's
you.
give them a round of applause.
Thank you.
We'd like to invite Dr. Bruce Strobel to come forward to give our third and final testimony for the night for hunger and food insecurity.
Hello, everyone. Dr. Bruce Strobel, chairperson for Tallahassee Alert. That's the African American Local Election Review Team. We've had the pleasure of fighting alongside the Capital Area Justice Ministry for food security here in Tallahassee. But I want you to kind of zoom out for a little bit. And I want to ask just a quick question. It's rhetorical. Have you ever been hungry? And I don't mean like you just missed a meal, you didn't eat breakfast that day. I'm talking about that real gut-wrenching hunger where you are unable to make clear decisions. You're unable to decide what you're going to do for the rest of your day. Imagine that as a child. Imagine that as an adult. Imagine that as a parent of a child not knowing where that next meal is going to come from. Well, in this county, around 14 to 16% of our residents are facing food insecurity. That tabulates to about 40,000 people in Leon County, right? This is a significant challenge that we're facing. And the solution that's being offered to us time and time again is we're just going to keep doing what we're doing. We're going to leave it up to the food banks and the nonprofit sector to resolve this issue. Unfortunately, while they're doing a great job, what we've seen in the headlines recently is that while we had on one side of town a Walmart where the freezers went down and they had to throw away tons of food, we had on the other side of town our food pantries facing increased need, facing rising costs in our community, and they couldn't provide food for all the people who have created that demand. That shows a disconnect. That shows a need for a coordinated response. And we believe that our county, our city, our local governments are the best place to coordinate. But even beyond just what we do at the local government level, is what do we do as a community? How do we respond? Is this something that we just leave up to each individual, or does this require a community response? I'm working in the community day after day. I'm talking with young people. I'm talking with children. They don't know where they're getting their next meal from. And they're being asked to go to school and take standardized tests. They're being asked to fill out scholarship applications. We talk about all these other issues, whether it's mental health, gun violence, it all ties directly back to food security. And I believe that we have a responsibility to move beyond food security to start looking at our entire food system. When we have wars going on around the world, the Straits of Hormuz is closed, it's open, it's closed, oil prices are going up. That affects our local food system here. And we have the power here in Leon County to take control of our own food system and lead ourselves to localized food sovereignty. Now, that's a more controversial term, but what it means is that we as a community, we as a people decide how we're producing food, how much we're producing, the quality of food, making sure it's culturally appropriate. So I don't want to take too much time because I'm very passionate about this subject, but I will look forward to continuing to work with you all and hearing from each of our candidates how they plan to address this issue. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Strobel. And for our last panel for this evening, this is for seat 4 for the mayor's seat. We'd like to invite Daryl Parks, Mike Faust, Jeremy Matlow, and Loran Osley to come forward. Michael. Thank you all for being here tonight. Start the first question with affordable housing. As I've mentioned with the past two panels, the County Commission and the Blueprint have both committed funds for supporting to fill the deficit for rental housing for families with very low and extremely low incomes. However, the City Commission has not. The need is tremendous. There's 16,000 families spending more than half their income on rent and utilities. How will you build on this progress to address the full scope of need? Daryl, we'll start with you.
The problem is a big problem. I think it's a problem that the city commission can act in several ways. One, it starts with we have probably 3,000 people who are on the waiting list for housing alone right now. And so I think the city, one, I would, to the extent we can, advocate for more funding to assist where possible. Where it's not possible, though, I think the person who's our mayor has the ability to try and work to see what grants may be available to help to assist with the issue as well.
Thank you. Michael?
Yeah, this could be attacked at two sides. Locally, from the beginning, on the ground, open your homes, let people stay if they're experiencing insecurity. I've opened my home to a lot of people that are passing through or staying in Tallahassee, help them get on benefits or use my best. And then from the city side, get people into home ownership. I would develop a office that was dedicated to finding grants from state and federal resources to help people buy homes, because that's the difference between 7 days of eviction, you're on the street, or 30, 60. I went 6 or 7 months one time without paying it, a mortgage. And there's, an investment that you make in your community when you buy a home. And that's what I'd like to see more of. When we talk about affordable housing, that's what I mean, ownership.
Thank you, Michael. Lorraine?
Thank you. Daryl and I worked together to bring purpose-built communities to Tallahassee and created the South City Foundation, which has one simple belief. Every family deserves a safe place to live, good schools, and a chance to build a better future. And through that work, old public housing on Orange Avenue was replaced with mixed income housing that lifts residents up. And that's what affordable housing should be about. This didn't happen because of one policy or one funding source. It happened because people came together, we stayed focused and committed to doing it right. This is the type of thing that we should do across our community.
Thank you, Lorraine. Jeremy?
Thank you. Good evening. I'm Tallahassee City Commissioner Jeremy Matlow. Proud to be a candidate for mayor this evening. First off, I was proud to support the initiatives brought forward by CAJM. We did get it passed at Blueprint. Unfortunately, we hear a lot about the 3-2 vote. This is one of those issues we didn't quite have enough votes at the city to accomplish. I think in housing, we have a political problem at the city that's going to require a political solution to get us to where we need to go to get the investment we need. And I will say, if you look at all new housing that's been built in our community over the past 2 decades, there's not a single one that's affordable to the bottom 50% of our community that didn't receive some sort of government subsidy. If we want housing to be affordable for the least of these in our community, the people at the bottom of the wage scale, we need to invest publicly. Our proposal is for a Department of Municipal Housing to start building real municipal housing, 500 units in the first 4 years that can be set at a rate that will last in perpetuity. These would be appreciating assets the city would own. They would also be revenue generating and really put us on the path to build onto that, to have enough units to house the people that need it the most.
Thank you, Commissioner. Our next question in this section, how will you balance growth and development with the need to preserve existing affordable housing and prevent displacement? And we'll start with you, Commissioner Matlow.
Sure, and these things aren't really at odds. We need growth. We need to preserve our environment, but what we see is too often whole neighborhoods of affordable housing get eliminated, and in their place we see things like student housing that's $1,500 for a bedroom. Once we demolish affordable housing, we will never have units that are that affordable in our community ever again. So it is very essential that we protect these existing units, these affordable units. And when we do build, we need to be building in a way that the price point is at a point where the people who got displaced could actually afford to live. Orange Avenue was mentioned earlier, but then there's still less units on Orange Avenue than there were to begin with for low-income individuals, and those low-income units have not yet been replaced, so we have to balance that challenge.
Thank you. Lorraine?
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about it. Affordable housing is at a crisis point. And solving that crisis means bringing together dollars at the federal and the state level through the Florida Housing Finance Corp, Ship and Sale, our incredible housing partners that we have in this community, the Tallahassee Housing Authority, the Lenders Consortium, the Community Land Trust. We got to get bold. We got to get creative. We got to be more strategic about using city land and doing everything we can to bring housing online because families can't wait. The solutions are going to come from aligning funding, investing in ideas that meet people where they are and moving them forward. This isn't about housing, it's about helping people find their pathway home.
Thank you. Michael?
Yeah, I remember back in 2009, my boy's mother and I bought a house in 2009. We thought it was out of our reach. We both had graduated school, working state jobs, and we didn't think it was within our reach. But there's a lot of first-time home buyer programs that will help you with the down payment, things like that the city could do, similar to the Land Trust and the CLT, or the Lenders Consortium and the CLT, where we have a public-private bridge from getting the loans for people in this city who want to invest in this city, stay in the city, similar to the Hometown Heroes program for buying homes after COVID, the frontline workers. If you live there a certain amount of time, the down payment that was an assisted part of the loan goes away. So programs like that, and then again, like I said, open your hearts, open your homes. Help people through tough times.
Thank you. Daryl?
I think the solution and the path to getting to solving the housing issue really starts with how we create an environment where people can do better for themselves, whether that's starting a business or whether it's getting a good job. This city, if you look around, we're almost dying. And so we have to find a way through city leadership to find a way to get this city moving in a better direction. I think this particular election offers a turning point for us to do that we get to elect some people, and it's partially a political problem, but I think you have to have a mayor that finds a way to bring all of us together, with the county, the city, to create an environment that people can do better. Once people start to do a little bit better, they get on the path to buying a home themselves. And so I think that's a better solution of how we get the city moving where it needs to go.
Thank you, Daryl. We'll move to food insecurity. Many neighborhoods in our city are classified as food deserts, lacking access to affordable and nutritious food. What concrete actions will you take to attract and sustain grocery stores or other food resources in these areas? Michael, we'll start with you.
Again, this starts with what you do every day. Be kind and check on someone. Everybody, I want you to check on someone today and see how they're doing for both the mental health and the food insecurity, because I know people that tell me they've run out of food for tonight, and we make a special run to the pantry. There's 350 families that come through just one food pantry that I help out with, and it's something that the city can coordinate, but I don't think that we should be responsible as stores. But connecting private resources like Second Harvest and Big Bend and all the local pantries, we need a centralized website that does all these things that we've been talking about, and that's the kind of thing I want to bring to the city council. Thanks.
Thank you, Michael. Daryl?
Without question, I love, just this past weekend, I was over at the Bellamy Center in Frenchtown, and I saw some of the food gardens that they were starting to grow. And I think it's a partial solution to it. But I think we still have a bigger problem when you look at their grocery store disparities throughout the city. You look at the stores in the Northeast and the variety they have versus what we have on the side. I live on the South Side, and the choice is not many, right? We have the Piggly Wiggly, but you also have a Winn-Dixie that went out of business very recently, right? And I think that Piggly Wiggly's tried to do a good job to fill a void for us, right? Without it, you look at even the public stores in this town, vast difference in them. If you ever travel around when you run for office, y'all, you actually travel all of them looking for people, so you get a little variety to see kind of what it looks like. But there's without question, there's an issue with our food chain, even with the stores that we have to look at. So I'll delve into that a little bit to understand why some of those stores are different than ones that exist owned by the same people.
Thank you, Daryl. Loran.
We have a good example of a grocery store going into a needed area. I would love to see that happening in South City with Purpose Built. But Piggly Wiggly is there. There are a lot of issues. The bottom line is food insecurity is a real issue, and we know, particularly with rising costs, and it's not just about food, it's about stability and dignity. But we do have a strong infrastructure here in Tallahassee with Second Harvest, and I'm really proud of my support of and involvement with Second Harvest for the past 25 years, working food distributions in Tallahassee and the surrounding counties on a regular basis and stepping it up when we have crises like hurricanes. I'm very proud with working with Senator Mumford to get $1 million for Second Harvest in 2018. And I worked really closely with Second Harvest after Hurricane Michael and during COVID. I think what we need to do is continue the city needs to be able to support and make those resources available to all of our folks.
Thank you, Loran. And Jeremy.
Thank you. And this issue is deeply personal to me. I was raised by a single mother of 4 kids on the south side of town, and I still have vivid memories of waking up on the first of the month hungry. Just food stamp day, too hungry to even get out of bed. My mom had a car with a really rattling muffler, and we would hear it coming home from around the corner, and I could still remember getting excited just knowing that we were going to get to eat that day. Thousands of children in our city are food insecure. 25% of our city lives in poverty. When we add working people just struggling to pay their bills, that number climbs to nearly half. So what do? I was proud to lead. In 2018, I said the city needs to build grocery stores. I was laughed at. They made jokes in the Democrat. 4 years later, I worked with my colleague, Commissioner Diane Williams-Cox, to get funding to build that store. And this year, it'll go into operation. We're working with the Griffin Heights neighborhood for a co-op model, so it's run by the community. We don't need to subsidize private corporations that take profits outside of this area. We need to enable locals to solve these solutions ourselves using public dollars.
Thank you. The next question in this section, how will you work with community organizations to improve coordination and communication so that services are not duplicated and gaps are filled? We'll start with you, Daryl.
Well, good one. We have a issue within our homeless community that I see firsthand every day when I walk in the South Side. Most days I walk from my home on the South Side near here to Cascades, and I see people who really need our services. I'll tell you, day one for me, working to help those people any way we can will be a top priority for me. But also recognizing, doing just a little research, that there are a lot of people who operate within that space. I plan to make sure that we sit down with those folks and let's figure out what's the best way for us to deliver to help those people, right? Because I think it's twofold. One, I think that they have the right to get help, but I also think we have the right to have a city that's clean, efficient, and safe. So keeping us safe is a top priority, I think, for whoever is our mayor. I can tell you, if I'm the mayor, I'm going to work in that regard to make sure that both sides of that problem are addressed by the leadership, and to work with the other commissioners and the county to make sure that we do just that.
Thank you. Loran?
Yeah, I mean, I think it reminds me of my work with Whole Child Leon, which was exactly to address that, not duplicating services and making sure that we're filling gaps for children's issues. I think we need to do that across all of city and county government. There's a lot of things that are going on in a lot of silos that don't talk to each other. I think we need to do everything we can to break the silos down and share information so that we make sure that the resources are getting where they need to be.
Thank you. Commissioner Matlow?
Thank you. I think we need to lift all ships. There's many agencies and community groups that may do the same types of services, but frankly, the need in our community is so great. We need all hands. on deck. You know, we see this, to me, it's a funding problem. We're a city with $1 billion budget, and the amount of money we invest into nonprofits and social services over the last decade has stayed flat. While taxes has increased, property taxes have increased, executive salaries have greatly increased, city commissioners' pay has doubled. The amount of dollars we put into nonprofits hasn't grown at all. We have to look at the need in our community. And as a business owner, you don't just throw money at a problem. You look at what it takes to solve the issue, and then you work backwards. So whether it's housing, food insecurity, mental health, we need to look holistically of what it's going to cost to actually serve the need, and then work with every group that wants to be a part of it.
Thank you, Michael.
Can you repeat the question? Been a lot of topics brought up. She's lost.
How will you work with community organizations to improve coordination and communication so that services are not duplicated and gaps are filled?
Oh, great. Okay. This is what I've done for a living for the last 14 years in IT departments within the state, bringing together different parts of the IT department and different parts of the organization, HR, accounting, the leadership, CEO, C-level, C-suite, everything in between. And I have to make sure that they're talking to each other so they don't step on each other's toes. It's called change management. And it's something I think we could apply to the city. And you know, we have mechanisms like it, but it really works when you have regular weekly meetings where people are talking to each other. There's a method of, you know, you work on a problem and people go away for a long time and then they come back and the problems change. So what you have to do is have more frequent meetings for the city commission, and more frequent ways or easier ways to contact, like the blue pages, calling, emailing. As mayor, my office will always be open.
Thank you, Michael.
In between getting work done.
Thank you. We'll move to gun violence. We're going to hit these last three issues, one question apiece. As first question of the night was about the actions that were taken here 5 years ago on gun violence interruption. We asked 5 years ago for $1 million per year for 5 years for gun violence interruption. That has 5 years have come and gone, and we're not really sure where the $1 million per year is at this point. So will you commit for $1 million per year for 5 years for gun violence interruption programs? Lorraine, we'll start with you.
We have a gun violence epidemic in this country, and I'm not going to commit to one thing or another, but the bottom line is it's far too easy for people to get guns. And you can look at my record, 14 years in the legislature, and I've always supported common sense gun safety legislation, from closing the gun show loophole, strong red flag measures, and a ban on military style weapons. We have just experienced the 1 year anniversary of the FSU shooting. We've all lived through the yoga shooting, the Pulse shooting, and of course, Parkland. You know, the list is way too long. It's even longer, the list of gun violence that happens on a daily basis in our neighborhoods. I voted against the Parkland legislation because it set up the Guardian program and put guns in our schools. And I believe the legislation that actually did some good things is starting to get weakened every year. Bottom line is, I am in support of doing what we can for gun violence. I'm not going to commit to $1 million because I don't know enough about the budget at this point, but you can look at my record and know that I've been there.
Thank you, Lorraine. Michael?
Yeah, sure. I commit that and more. I think we need to address it in not only the youth, but also people my age in their 40s, getting older in their 50s, taking care of their parents and their kids at the same time. A lot of us are not married anymore, you know, raising single parent households, and it's tough. And people lose hope. And I think that this city suffered a lot during COVID, and now we're suffering again with the immigration issues going on in the country. And we need to have more programs for the youth to, I would encourage men my age and younger to coach, to mentor, to give good examples of older men treating women with dignity and respect, refraining from substance abuse and violence. And that's how we're going to solve this, by example.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you.
Jeremy?
Yes, I do. I supported the budget line item. I think we have a long way to go. Frankly, when we look at city decisions, we see the selling of our golf course, the selling of our hospital, things the public never asks about. But I don't go a week without somebody expressing concern about gun violence in our community to our office. We need to invest in this. We know there's evidence-based programs that have been suggested, the violence interrupter programs that show that they actually reduce gun violence. And I think that has to be a top priority of our community because there's just been too much. There's been too much, and we got to bring it to an end.
Thank you, Jeremy. Daryl?
Thank you so much. Yes, to the $1 billion. I spent my life as a civil rights attorney, and so most of the things I've done in my life involves preservation of life. I think as your mayor, the government's number one responsibility is preservation of life. And I think that you'll have a person in me that understands that whatever I can do to one, keep you safe, is our number one job. And so you can understand that as the person who would be in charge of the city as the political leader, you'd have a person that's committed to that and would do things to make sure that we lead the discussion on that issue and not make plenty of other side issues the thought of the day.
Thank you. The next question. Many individuals experiencing mental health crises cycle through jails and emergency rooms. What steps will you take to reduce this cycle and provide more appropriate community-based care? We'll start with Commissioner Mallow.
Thank you. Again, another issue that's personal to me. My brother is schizophrenic and a drug addict, has been in and out of jail and rehabs and facilities his whole life. And it's very challenging as a relative to try to support somebody who's going through those issues who may not always want to take help. But what I have seen is, depending on what community he landed in, some are doing it way better than we are. The ability to have walk-in services and to kind of immediately get paired with a counselor, to have a direct counselor that can make sure they come find you and you're taking your medication. Really looking for the housing solution to get folks off the streets. A lot of times that's family. We can't even force that on people, but they are willing to take help. So I think looking at what we're doing in Tallahassee, we can't, and my brother's lived in Tallahassee as well and was so frustrated with just the ability to get medication here that he ended up going back to Texas. So I think we have a lot more that we can do locally, directly, one-on-one with counselors. Thank you.
Thank you. Lauren?
Yeah, I mean, mental health is at the center of so many challenges that we face. We all know that mental illness is a health issue and it should be treated as such. I have worked on mental health issues in the legislature and in my community advocacy. Most importantly, we should start with our youngest children. And I'm really proud of the Behavioral Health Navigator program that we started at Whole Child Leon, which connects pediatricians, gets pediatricians and kids connected with behavioral health. In the legislature, I always supported funding upfront projects when it really matters, to make sure that law enforcement and courts and providers work together to get people into treatment instead of jail. These are exactly the type of things that I will lead as mayor, bringing people together to solve problems and get better outcomes for our community.
Thank you. Michael?
Can you repeat the first part?
Many individuals experiencing mental health crises cycle through jails and emergency rooms.
Yeah. So this is where the county and the city need to work together to come together on pretrial and probation funding, being able to visit clients and things like that to keep people out of jail, because it's a privilege to be on probation versus being there. And sometimes jail is the answer for a while. You got to be. It's tough love, but they're kept safe for the most part. Things happen, but for the most part, the jails keep you safe. And they can get you through things like. I'm sorry to hear that, Jeremy, about your brother, but I've got a family member with schizophrenia and bipolar as well, and it can be very frustrating when they don't seek help. But you just have to be there with an open heart, compassion, love, meet them where they are. Don't judge them. And I will model that. And then also expand the mental health as a city service, like our suicide lines, things like that.
Thank you. Daryl?
Three things. Number one, I'm very proud of the work that the guy sheriff has done to deal with the mental health issue with people who are incarcerated here. He was actually on it the other night about the courtesy of some of that work. Number two, I chair the Bond Community Health Center board right now, and one of the things that we've worked on right now is developing a mental health, a men's health center on the south side that we're trying to develop in partnership with Big Bend Continuum of Care to have a housing component to help people who may be dealing with that issue. So I think it's important that you have partnerships that are both private and we as citizens do to try and do those things. Lastly, I had a niece that moved here to live with me when she was 14. She had a psychosis situation that was triggered, and she would often lose her life related to the psychosis situation. So the whole mental health piece for me, and one of those episodes happened here in Tallahassee, and we had the whole issue. We went to TMH, we did the Appalachian Center, the Abilify situation. Ultimately, she did not survive sometime later. So it's an issue very personal to me.
Thank you all. Finally, last question of the night. What is your vision for how Tallahassee can remain a welcoming and economically strong community in the context of changing immigration policies? Daryl, we'll start with you.
I think that our law enforcement understands our sentiments as a community and that they understand the marching orders from the city commission and what will allow to happen here and not happen here. I think us being a welcoming city means everything. I didn't grow up here, but it's a place that I chose to call home. And many of my family members have moved here as well. So it's a very welcoming place. One of the biggest things that we do is welcome new people here, and we should always remember that. So keeping it safe, keeping it economically viable that people would want to be here, treating them well while they're here, keeping the city clean is something that we should focus on, that people would want to come back. Most of my friends like coming here, y'all. They like coming to Tallahassee, have a good time. They like coming to visit. I have guests right now at my house who like coming here. So that's important though, y'all. When people want to come to your town, they bring money. They spend money and they come often. And so we should always remember that we are that type of city in all that we do.
Thank you, Daryl. Michael?
My vision for Tallahassee is to get out of our rut and get back to being a clean, beautiful city that has things like our chain of parks that we had this past weekend. 26 years, it's 25 years it's been going, winning awards, and people love coming here. Even people that have lived here maybe 2 or 3 years, 4 years. It's a town that brings you back. And we talked a lot about the bad things, the challenges that we face. But the city does a lot really well too. We are a welcoming community, and I think that's why we haven't seen some of the violence with immigration enforcement here. I know someone who's here illegally, and she can't vote for me, but her sons are. And this is a city that will remain open as long as the people in it here show up and our city leadership models that compassion.
Thank you, Michael. Loran?
So yeah, we're living in unprecedented times. And immigration is a big issue in our country right now. And bottom line is they're disconnected from basic human dignity. Everyone should be treated with dignity and respect. Even the Old Testament in Leviticus tells us to love the foreign-born as we love ourselves. But immigration policies are made at the federal level. And I think what we're talking about here is making sure that immigrants who live in this community feel welcome. This is an incredible community that we live in. I mean, we have something for everyone. I think about the IRC, which I think is going away, but that is church groups in our community that are working with refugees here in this community. We could certainly do the same thing for immigrants, and we should.
Thank you, Loran. And Jeremy?
Thank you. As you've seen tonight, we have a lot of great candidates for mayor. I think no matter who you elect, we'll be better off than we are today. But looking at the immigration issue, I submit that I'm the only candidate prepared to do what needs to be done. We have an issue with a state government trying to tell local governments it needs to spend its money to do federal immigration enforcement. If we let that be, the concept of home rule in our community is completely dead. As a city, we need to fight for immigrants. We're a nation of immigrants, what we're founded on. And it's not just the people working in hotels and building our buildings. Immigrants are doctors in our hospitals, they're engineers in local companies, they're the building fabric of our community. This is the moral issue of our time. We need a strong, steady response from the city of Tallahassee, telling the state government they've gone too far and we will not comply. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeremy. And thank you all for coming tonight. Let's give our final panel a round of applause.
Stand, take a time.
All right. And my faith tradition testimonies are extremely important. I'm going to close us out. But before we do that, we have one other testimony from Mara Stopyak in the area of immigration. All right.
Thank you. It's really easy to look at these possible candidates for mayor and the president and let them take the wheel. It's incredibly important to elect the correct people into office to make these decisions. But what a lot of people forget is that your voice is equally as important as anyone who has spoken today. I'm 16 years old and I staged the walkout at Lincoln High School against ICE. Thank you. Thank you. And this really shows that there are so many, there's younger kids, there's older people that we all care. And it really just takes one person. Your voice matters. Don't sit back and have one person fight for equal rights. A fight is not, oh, let's have our mayor ease the president and maybe there'll be a change. All of your voices need to be heard for a change to happen. That's why there hasn't been much change. But we could see in Minneapolis their response to the murders and the kidnappings that got ICE wrapped them up. They took a step back. That just shows that the people have so much more power than any single person you could put into office. I'm sure that 90% of you are older than me. But I'm also sure that 90% of you have not done as much as me and the people that have staged the walkout at Lincoln. I need all of you guys to take accountability for what you believe in. You can't just sit here and listen to Jeremy Matlow, and yes, he's a great guy, but you have to do something too. I really hope that in Tallahassee, I see more representation for immigrants and equal rights in general. If a 16-year-old can do it, you can too. Thank you.
I'm loving it. I'm loving it. All right. Let's give her another hand. Give her another hand. Give her another hand. Give her another hand. I'm loving it. I want to say thank you for coming, and I want to close by saying family, and we are family. What we experienced tonight was not just a program. It was a moment. Tonight we heard candidates stand. We gained clarity, and clarity is where accountability begins. But tonight is not the end. It is the beginning. Somebody shout, it's the beginning. Oh, I don't hear you. It's the beginning. Accountability does not live on the stage or it lives in the people. It lives in you. It lives in me. What you do after tonight matters. Will you stay engaged? Will you remember what was said? Will you continue to show up? Because change does not happen in moments. It happens when moments turn into movement and movement moves into momentum. And tonight we say movement and momentum. CAJM family, this is our time. Not later, not someday, but NOW. And that spells what, everybody? Spells what? Okay, let's move forward together. Let us stay committed. Let us continue building the kind of power that brings real change. I have on a shirt here, and it is green. We love for you. The green represents prosperity in my faith. Purchase a CAJM shirt. Support the movement with the shirt. Okay? Green represents prosperity in my faith movement, and a green also represents money. How many need that money? All right? Make it rain. All right? So support. Get your shirt in the lobby. All right? All right. I'm going to pray. You want to say anything, sir? Let's give it up for the hardest working executive director on this side. Come on, come on, come on, come on. He walks in humility, but this is the executive director of Capital Area Justice Ministry, and we're grateful for you. I call him the Joseph of the group. Say something, sir.
I just thank everybody for being here. I want you guys to see what it happens when we unite. We have a young 16-year-old. We have Tallahassee Alert. We have NAACP. We have the county. We have the city. We have the police department. We have the sheriff's department. We have all of the candidates here. Listen, they're trying to pit us against each other. United we stand. Divided we'll fall. But together we'll accomplish it all. I love y'all. I love y'all. I'm not worried about numbers. I'm worried about progress. Tonight, we made progress because we came here, we didn't argue, we spoke our mind, we talked what we felt, and because of that, tomorrow looks brighter. I love all of you. I'm going to give it the man of God to pray because I got preacher in my blood, so I can speak for a minute. But I thank all of you for coming. I thank all of you for being here. Thank all of our candidates. Let's give the candidates a round of applause again. Hey man, and all of the justice groups that are represented here, I can't call you out. Innocence Project, everybody that's here, we're fighting together. Seth, I see you. All right. So Tallahassee Alert, I love y'all. Let's pray.
All right. Guide us as we leave this place, not just to reflect, but to act. Strengthen our commitment to one another and to the work of justice. May we move forward with three things: clarity, courage, and purpose. It's in your name we pray. Amen. Thank you for coming. Get your shirt. Show some love, all right? Show some love. Post those pictures.
Good job.
Some of y'all might have to go look. Go up one. Go up one. Eric, come down. Tell them to come on this side.